What's good, y'all? As y'all know, I've been hella sick. You feel what I'm saying? The last few days, bruh, I don't even know what happened, bruh. I just woke up one day, like, sometimes, usually you get like a warning, nigga, like something, you get sniffles, like a sore throat or something, bruh. I woke up and went from 0 to 10. Like, it wasn't even like no in between. Just woke up with crazy symptoms, crazy fatigue, crazy headache, fucking, bro, all types of stuff. Um, and so yeah, couldn't even get out of bed. Like usually I'll be sick and I'll still be able to handle business and make shit happen. But like, bro, like couldn't even get out of bed. Like it was crazy, bro. Like, but I did rest. Did get the home remedies together. You feel what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Put some concoctions together with my girl. You feel me? With the raw garlic, with the turmeric and the elderberry, and you feel me? We got in the lab and got busy. The sweat out tea, all that. But even right now, like my head is pounding. Um, but I did get well enough to go do my show though. I did go perform. Made sure I still performed. It's my first show since I changed my name, so I wasn't gonna allow that. I wasn't gonna allow nothing to stop me from following through with that. I wasn't gonna let nothing stop me. And the people love the music. Y'all be able to see. I got footage for y'all coming very soon, so y'all can see my ability as an MC as well, right? Just in case anybody questioning, what I can do. But the one thing I do want to talk about too is we've been going over a series at this church I've been going to, right? We've been going over Romans. And Romans 14 was something that really stood out to me. And it really breaks down disputable matters, right? And how just pointless they are, which is why the disputable matters. And I had the time while I've been sick to really sit down and think about it and reflect. Life slowed down, no autopilot, no hustle mode, no, doing all these different things, but slowing down and really looking at it and really dissecting. And it really got me looking at a lot of things in a certain way. And now I know some things probably popped up in your head, but don't assume. Okay, we're gonna sit here. We're gonna let's just kick it with me today. Kick it with me this Sunday. If you watching, you got some time. Watch to the end. Just hang out with your boy. Let's have a conversation. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments, and let's talk. You feel what I'm saying? But let's just look at the Romans 14 real quick. Okay, so right here, right? 1 second. As for the one who is weak in faith, welcome him, but not to quarrel over opinions. One person believes he may eat anything, while the weak person eats only vegetables. Let not the one who eats despise the one who abstains, and let not the one who abstains pass judgment on the one who eats, for God has welcomed him. Who are you to pass judgment on the servant of another? It is before his own master that he stands or falls, and he will be upheld, for the Lord is able to make him stand. And my perception of that really is just like simple. It's really the only God can judge me type thing. Like we spend so much time like trying to correct how people do things and correct how people move and correct how people feel and correct how people perceive and correct how people blah 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 blah. Like we got all the answers. Like we fucking know everything. We don't know anything. None of y'all niggas know nothing, me included, right? And that's not to say we not human and we not gonna judge and pass our judgments either, but I think it's important to then recognize, where do we put our energy? Like what is important? What is important to dispute about? That's what it is. Like at the end of the day, it's like, what are we really disputing about anyway? Right? But it's to understand, what is there really to dispute? What is important to you to dispute about? I think it's like you want to minimize that as much as possible. You don't want to have 12 things that are important to dispute about. I feel like it's the combination of like trying to get to that point of being in holiness and being in, And not being in holiness from a place of fear, but being in holiness so that your life is in order and your life is in peace, and you feel okay with your struggle and your sacrifice and all these things that happen naturally in life, and you're not battling against it. You're walking with the force. That's the only thing I hear when I hear God's message and Jesus' messages and all these different things. It's like it's trying to give you the keys of how to live this life as blissfully as possible, knowing that there's going to be suffering, knowing that there's going to be these things. And when I see this, I think it's another way to live blissfully. It's another key. Here you go, to live blissfully in this life. And that's to, right? One person believes he may eat anything, while the weak person eats only vegetables. Let not the one who eats despise the one who abstains, and let not the one who abstains pass judgment on the one who eats. Right? Even on the basis level, when you're talking about, vegetarians, and like, I'm a pescatarian. I was vegetarian July 10th, 2015, all the way up until like 2022. Then I went pescatarian. So I've had conversations with people all the time just about like going back and forth, like, why did you decide to go very vulnerable? And people expected me to have these answers of like, well, I want to protect the animals and stuff. But really, I just tried it, liked how I felt, kept doing it, learned more about it, and things like that. But it's crazy how quickly, like, certain things are we just quickly are so quick to, no. Stop. You feel what I'm saying? And I think it's important for us to know, if we are going to debate a disputable matter, what is at stake? Is there something at stake at least? You see what I'm saying? Because as humans, we're going to do it regardless. And I think it's good to minimize them, right? And I think that's the reality of like reading the Bible and then recognizing where we are as human, like getting as close to that as possible, but then realizing like, okay, what steps can I take to get to this? I can't just wake up one day and all of it is gone. And I think it's just minimizing the disputable matters, right? And we're going to get to why I'm bringing this up later, so stay tuned. One person esteems one day is better than another, while another esteems all days alike. Each one should be fully convinced in his own mind. That's powerful. It's fucking amazing. There's a lot of people who love self-help, who love, random statement, who love self-help, who love all this different stuff, who also turn away from the Bible. Me being one of those people that used to be like that, and not realizing that a lot of the great self-help is in the Bible. Like this one sentence here. There's two sentences here. One person esteems one day is better than another, while another esteems all days alike. Each one should be fully convinced in his own mind. That's like the understanding of like being okay with where you are in that moment. The one who observes the day observes it in honor of the Lord. The one who eats in honor of the Lord, since he gives thanks to God, while the one who abstains in honor of the Lord and gives thanks to God. One is eating and still the source is going back. And then one who doesn't eat, it still might be an honor, so that thanks is still going back. And that's however you perceive it. If you aren't, if you're not a Christian, if you don't believe in God, if you don't lean in that direction, boom, I'm sure that like there's a way that you can interpret this and apply it to you, right? So don't, I would love people to really get into the Bible and don't allow me to make you do anything, but go read it, and not read it because you think you might go to hell. Just go read it because there's some good shit in there, and you might mess around and you know what I mean. The one who eats, for none of us lives to himself, and none of us dies to himself. For if we live to the Lord, and if we die to the Lord. So then whenever we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's. For to this end Christ died and lived again, that he might be Lord both of the dead and of the living. And I think once again, why do you pass judgment on your brother? Or why do you despise your brother? For we will all stand before the judgment seat of God. For it is written, as I live, says the Lord, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to God. So then each of us will give an account of himself to God. Therefore, let us not pass judgment on one another any longer, but rather decide never to put a stumbling block or hindrance in the way of a brother. And this is like some of the things where, when I was talking about, you know, um, the the way I used to do some of my old videos, it's like, if I am gonna pass judgment as a human being, the absolute least I can do is also help the people who are watching me find the humanity in what I'm talking about, right? And we about to get into all that in a second. I know and am persuaded in the Lord Jesus that nothing is clean in itself, but it is unclean for anyone who thinks it's unclean. For if your brother is grieved by what you eat, you are no longer walking in love. By what you eat, do not destroy the one for whom Christ died. So all these different things is like how, I'm worried about how you live and how you decide to do this, how you eat, how you drink, how you talk, how you do all this different stuff. This isn't getting in the way of, how do I have the authority to actually put a finite judgment on who that person is? You see what I'm saying? Like that, this is literally a perfect breakdown of what it means to live and let live. Because in my mind, that's the ultimate law. When I think about everything Jesus teaches, I actually said it in one of my songs, if y'all haven't heard it, called No Child Left Behind. I said, maybe it don't, but if live and let live is the only law, America got a pending criminal charge, right? So what I'm saying is, if live and let live was the only law we all lived by, how many people or how many things and how many institutions and how many things in this life are breaking that law? Because that's the one thing that keeps people free and allows people to do what they may. And of course there's going to be, hindrance of that here and there, but ultimately when you see this and there's levels to that, of course, there's context. But it's that living your life and allowing another to live their life not only is going to give peace to you, but I think it's going to create a greater environment around you and people around you and the experience that people have around you. That's what I'm getting from this message, right? And not only that, but it's to remember that all of that it's just more proof of being too attached to the ego, too attached to the flesh. And that always comes back to bite you in the ass. Like we have our egos to navigate this reality, but at the end of the day, it's bigger than that. And I think that's what the Bible and Jesus and all these different stories typically ends up being the crux of the lessons most of the time. For if your brother is grieved by what you eat, so do not let what you regard as good be spoken of as evil. For the kingdom of God is not a matter of eating and drinking, but of righteousness and peace and joy in the Holy Spirit. Whoever thus serves Christ is acceptable to God and approved by men. So then let us pursue what makes for peace and mutual upbuilding. Now, this don't mean that motherfuckers just walking around doing all this crazy stuff to people and harming people and stuff like that. That still abides to what's being said here, right? But if, within the context of what we're talking here, it's like these disputable matters, these things that we judge people and condemn people for that are fucking disputable, that do not matter. What somebody's wearing, what somebody chooses to do with their person, like, it doesn't matter. Okay? Now, we can go forward and we can talk about this all day, but now I want to kind of get to the whole point of why I'm bringing this up. Actually, hold on. I actually brought up a little article here that kind of broke down some of this a little bit too, that I liked. So look, the problem was the strong Christians were looking down on the weaker ones, and the weak believers were condemning or judging the strong. The church was caught up in the sins of pride, legalism, and judgmentalism. Paul reminded them that as servants of God, they were accountable to God alone. Who are you to pass judgment on the servant of another? It is before his own master that he stands or falls, and he will be upheld, for the Lord is able to make him stand. God is our master, and it's up to him to judge us. If we are busy serving our master, we won't be concerned with trivial matters like investigating the eating habits of our brothers and sisters. right? And this is what I kind of want to get to on the grander scale here, right? Is I know some of y'all probably thinking I'm saying like all the stuff we talking about with hip hop and stuff like that doesn't matter. Now this is what I'll get out the way quickly. That's one of my if I'm gonna be human and I have to minimize my disputable matters, this is in there. Because in my mind, it usually comes down to like if it's not to minimize hip hop, and I know people killed me for this last year, but I'm glad I'm explaining it right now. To minimize hip hop is to minimize the power of it. It's one of the things that effectively spreads the gospel to the outlaw, to the kid who doesn't have the church, the kid who's turned away from the church, the outlaw, the homeless person, all these different people who can't hear unless they hear it in a different way. They can't walk into a church. They don't feel worthy to sit next to the people who are in the church. They don't feel respected by the people who are in the church. A lot of the times they aren't welcomed by the people who are in the church. So how do you reach them? If the whole point is to spread the gospel, how do you reach them? So when I said hip hop is the gospel, I'm not saying that hip hop is pure and its word and all this different shit. But I will tell you, everything you hear in hip hop, you'll see in the Bible. Tell me I'm lying. And I don't mean that it's all good and bad, but the Bible ain't all good. It's good and bad in the Bible. It's human life in the Bible. It's reality in the fucking Bible. That's hip hop. You're not getting that from these other genres. These other genres not going to tell you how it is. These other genres not going to give you the nuance of what it's like for Brenda. These other genres are not going to give you the reality of what it's like to be Tammy. You see what I'm saying? Like, hip hop is so important to the spreading of the gospel because it's the music that touches the outlaw. Why do you think, listen, man, Tupac said, come listen to this is the dude that did All Eyes on Me, all that. He said, come listen to my truest thoughts, my truest feelings, all my years doing peers behind drug dealing. How many caskets can we witness? Before we see it's hard to live this life without God, so we must ask forgiveness. Ask mama why I got this urge to die. Witness the tears falling free from her eyes before she could reply. Like, this is the music. And it's important. You galvanize all these thugs, all these gangsters, all of these people who are deemed outlaws to everyday society. And then one of Tupac's biggest songs, how many caskets do we witness before we see it's hard to live this life without God, so we must ask forgiveness? Joel Osteen can't tell niggas that, but Tupac can. You feel me? A lot of these preachers, they can't tell certain people that. Kendrick can. Kendrick can hold up the sign and say Jesus saves gangsters too. And you see what I'm saying? A lot of people can't hear that from a pastor. They can hear it from DMX. From what I've learned recently, Jay-Z talk about all this different stuff, and here we go with some sprinkling in of that, you know what I'm saying? His heart with God, etc. Whether it's the battle with that or whatever, wherever Jay-Z's doing right now, I'm not saying, but what I'm saying is he has spoken it. So even if it isn't true to him, fuck that. And I was actually having a conversation with the homie the other day. The intention behind somebody spreading the gospel don't matter. That's my take. Because the person that's hearing it gets to take away from it what they take away from it. Sometimes that path might be misaligned or whatever, but when people get on that path, it usually get corrected. So I'm like, that's what I mean by hip hop is the gospel. It's real, it's reality, and it's going to talk to the people that can't hear the word outside of that. So anything that is trying to minimize, that is trying to destroy, that is trying to eliminate that, in my mind, it's taking away the one thing, the one of the many things that is for the outlaw, that can touch somebody who can't find it anywhere else. Especially for our people. Especially for our people. For some of our people, and I get the same for everybody. I've learned that being on YouTube long enough. This ain't the same for everybody. But for some of us, hip hop was our education. Some of us ain't had the stable home and ain't had the ability to boom boom. Some of us was really outside. Like literally outside. Like no home. Couldn't graduate high school. Couldn't go to college. Couldn't boom boom. And we learned through listening to our favorite artists. And that's why they say it's important to put the message into the music for them. You feel what I'm saying? Everybody ain't have it peachy clean and the family all together and, you know what I'm saying, you get to go home and all the time. You feel me? Everybody ain't had that. Sometimes the music is what keeps people together, keeps people's frame and they minds together, and builds their education, their independent thinking. It puts them on a path to learn. So that's my disputable matter that I'm going to keep. So I just want to make that clear before I say everything I'm about to say. However, right, there are a lot of conversations that we be having that are disputable matter, right? And even down to, you know what I'm saying, I think the core and the elements of that, these are the important things to keep, because that's how we maintain the spirit, is by keeping the elements. You can't strip the spirit if the elements maintain. That's why they got to remove the elements first. But, right, I think it's very important to look at that verse and say, like, even when I think about, remember when I said I feel like I was being harsh on J. Cole? A lot of the stuff that I was being harsh on J. Cole about were very disputable. It wasn't like J. Cole, like, yeah, J. Cole apologized in a battle. J. Cole did all these different things. But I didn't really think he started violating until, you know, he did the whole thing with, you know, talking about culture as a buzzword and all that different stuff. But it's to remember that J. Cole is going through his own motherfucking journey as a human being. And if we just take our lenses off real quick, I know it's going to be hard for some people to understand that, but if we just take our lenses off real quick and just look at J. Cole, the human being, he had a moment where there was an opportunity for him to prove the things that he was saying, but he was never the things that he was saying. So he either had to go out there and try to prove it to himself or fold like he did. And that's what happened, right? And we did a lot of judging of J. Cole without at least trying to look at it from the human perspective of, imagine being in that position where he might even thought that he was ready until the moment really pulled up. And it's like, not to minimize the elements of the boom, 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 but it's also to recognize that he's a human being. And that's the way we get to really see everybody, right? And it's like, it's not to say or forget, or I wouldn't even say, it's not to say like people aren't, you know, with some crazy ass motherfuckers out there, right? But it's to remember some things are disputable. Extremely disputable. And when they are disputable, if we are going to judge, if we are going to critique, if we are going to break down, it's important to at least take that time to also highlight the humanity and what's taking place. Because to me, I can't stop highlighting the problems that we are facing in within hip hop, because that's how they gonna fuck around and do us like jazz. That's how they gonna fuck around and do us like rock and roll. That's how they gonna fuck around and do us like country. If we not doing what we doing right now, that's what they gonna do. But we also gotta remember that just like hip hop is supposed to be the soil of the brain, the soil to build the future minds of the next generation. I think it's important for me as a content creator to remember that too. To remember that I don't know everybody that's watching. I don't know every single person that's watching. There's probably some kid watching me right now who can't comment, who don't got a YouTube account, who love watching my stuff and can't, comment or make himself known. And so what I'm saying and what I'm breaking down is important. And I think the more we teach the youth and the world to see people as human, they'll see the people in their family as human. They see the people in their friendships as human. They see the people in the community as human. And then the more we do that, the more the world starts seeing people as human. A lot of the things that are happening in the world is because we don't see each other as human beings based on what you've done. And you know what? No, it goes beyond, and it comes back to disputable matters. It's to the point where disputable matters are so fucking serious right now. You can minimize somebody's humanity because of what they believe in. You can minimize somebody's humanity, their ability or their existence as a human being because of what they believe in. People die because of what they believe in. Our ancestors, so many of our ancestors, because of what they believed in, because they fought back, because they fought for their existence. But that stemmed from people not believing in their existence, using the skin to justify and say that you are not human enough to resist this treatment. And it's gotten to the point where even disagreeing on disputable matters will get you treated like that socially. And once again, we humans, so we gonna do it. People are gonna do it. We do get to fight that. And I think the best thing we can do is just minimize it as much as possible until one day you don't have none. But it's to recognize when you do go do that, remember, even if you feel like you're right, even if you feel like on moon, just remember though. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I'm gonna keep talking about the things that I'm talking about because I think we're in a very important time in hip hop. But every time I do it, I'm mindful and I know what I'm doing. And I at least want to give some fruit and want to give some insight to at least balance it out for the people watching. And I think we could all do that in our personal lives. When we criticize the wife, the husband, the son, the daughter, the father, the mother, the teacher, the pastor, the homeless man, the cashier, the mechanic. This is a human. And even in my discomfort in what they are doing, where can I find the humanity in this person? And not even realizing while you're doing that, when you make mistakes, when you fuck up, when you fall off and fall off from the path that you was on and boom, boom, because it's bound to happen. That same level of forgiveness and grace that you gave them, you're going to give yourself because you're practicing it through them. But if you don't give nobody no grace, when you fuck up, you're going to be the first person to tear you the fuck up. And that's the realest shit I could have said right now. And I know some people ain't going to agree, but fuck it. Let's have a conversation. Let me know what you think. You know what I'm saying? We're going to do these every Sunday. We're going to do these every Sunday, man. Because, yeah. But, hey, I'm going to get off. My brain is killing me, dog. Um, like, comment, subscribe, especially if you're new here, especially if you've been here. More videos coming this week. I think I'm gonna be going live pretty much. I'm gonna go live multiple times this week. So I know I ain't been live in almost a month. I was on live with Ville, but I ain't been live on my channel in almost a month. So we gonna get back to the lives. And hey man, love y'all, appreciate y'all. I know I probably said something that don't align within that rant somewhere, but hey, I know some sprinklings in there for everybody. You feel me? And even if you disagree with something, it's still showing you something that you believe in. So everything I said is a win for somebody. You feel me? Love y'all, appreciate y'all. Subscribe to the Patreon, man. I'm gonna catch y'all, man.